Welcome to Luke on Cars, and in this episode I'm going to review this Lexus ISF Transition. Now, for full transparency, this is my car, so I will be slightly biased, but at the same time I can give you a proper review on what it's like to own and live with every day. What's it like on those cold winter mornings when you've got to go into the car, de-ice it, start it up? What's the realistic MPGs you're going to get? What's the servicing costs like? I'm going to go through all the invoices I've got in the car from all the service history. This has a full Lexus dealer service history, so I can go through it all, break down some of the prices, the insurance, just a general livability of this car and what's it like to live with, not just drive for half an hour. So let me tell you a few of the bad things about the car first, because I am going to go on and sing its praises, because like I said, biased. But there's a few bad things or a few things that other cars would do better. So let's go through the bad things quickly. First up, as you might see, legroom in the back, pretty limited. I'm 6 foot, this is my driving position. I can sit in here, but it's not great. It's also an absolute bitch to get into. You have to like curl yourself in like a Lotus Elise. You see, just fucking whack my head and I'm in like this. Staying on topic of practicality and seats, it's a 4-seater, not a 5-seater. So if you need 5 seats, this is not the car for you. Another practicality concern is the rear seats do not fold down. You have a pass-through flap like this, but they do not fold down. So if you have skis or something, you can put them through. The boot is massive. There is a spare wheel. There's a lot of space, but the rear seats do not fold down. Okay, one last boring practicality thing. The miles per gallon are not good. Not that you'd expect one from a 5-litre V8, which this is, but on average, I get around 18 miles per gallon. On the motorway, I can get 31, 32 on a long run, but realistically, 18 combined is probably what you can expect. Now let's stay under the bonnet as we move on to the good things about the car, because this really is the party piece. This 5-litre V8 2UR engine is ridiculously good. It produces 416 brake horsepower, 500 Newton meters of torque, and it is so characterful. If you like Hondas, you'll like this. There's definitely a VTEC vibe about this engine. This intake here opens up. There's a secondary valve that opens up, absolutely fills the cabin with intake noise. Sounds unbelievable.
Whoa. Somehow I forgot to mention this engine is co-developed with Yamaha, and yes, I'm ill. Anyway, back to the video.
That's where the peak power comes in. The power delivery is quite late, forces you to rev it out, drive it well, drive it hard, and the engine absolutely loves it. Not to mention, these are ridiculously reliable. But again, I'll talk about that more in detail later. Now let's talk about looks of the ISF. To me, I think this car looks great. Obviously, I bought it, so I think it looks good. It is a bit Marmite. When I speak to some people, they say it looks like an IS, which it does, but that is kind of a good element for me. It's very sleeper, but if you look a bit closer, you see the big bonnet bulge, you'll see the flared arches, you'll see this vent on the side of these F badges, you'll see massive intakes on the front for the brakes, you'll see the quad exhaust, you look, it's a bit more haunch, just a bit more aggressive, and I like cars like that. I like M3s back in the day. You know, they look like a normal 3 Series to most people. If you look closer, you start to see the details and you piece it together. And then for me, I just love cars like this. I love niche cars like this. And on the subject of niche, these cars are super rare in the UK. There's only 182 of them in the UK, as far as I'm aware. And this blue color, I mean, my personal favorite, this ultrasonic blue, is a must-have. I absolutely love it. The forged BBSs, 19-inch front and rear, they have been redone in this raised gold bronzy color, same as the T37s, which I think work really well with the blue. Initially, I wasn't a big fan of it when I bought the car. The previous owner did it, but they've definitely grown on me, so that's good. Staying on the subject of appearance, these stacked pipes on the rear were a big talking point when this car was new, a very Marmite decision from the designers. I personally love it. It's very unique, very standout. If you see one, you know. So these are actually real tips attached to the exhaust, but on the standard car, these are fake tips and not actually attached to the exhaust, which I hate, to be fair. So I'm glad these are attached, even though some people don't like them, but I'm a big fan. Let's move inside to the interior. I personally love this. I love the steering wheel. I love the aluminium flappy paddles. Jesus, I've watched too many American videos. The aluminium flappy paddles, this sort of silvery carbon effect you get in the middle, I'm a big fan of. It is a bit dated, I won't lie, but you've got to think this interior is kind of based off a car from 2006. So it is going to be dated, but I think it's got that simplistic enough design as to where it's not that dated, but it definitely, by no stretch of the imagination, is modern. But it's a Lexus, everything's well built, all the materials feel nice, they feel no creaks, no rattles, it just feels well built. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, especially the center shifter, I'm not a big fan of that, but it does the job, it's functional, I think it's nice. These white seats really set it off. I was going to get one with black seats, but I test drove one with black seats and it just feels very, well, not very special, and I think the white seats make it feel a lot more special as a car and a place to be, so that's why. So continuing with the theme of the interior, I do not like this shifter. I think it's dated. It feels like it's out of Toyota Camry, but I do like having a physical shifter that moves into park drive. It does have a sequential shift mode, up and down using this, but it's the wrong way around. So it should be up backwards, down forwards, as you go with the weight of the car when you accelerate and brake. That's a demonstration for you, but it's not, which is mildly frustrating, but I don't think I'd use it anyway because these flappy pedals are so nice.
Here are some of the features you get as standard in the ISF. Standard, bear that in mind. You get radar cruise control, which I'll throw up on the screen. It actually has a little image of an ISF with stacked exhaust on your dash, which I absolutely love little things like that. It's got rear view camera, it's got keyless entry and start, it's got front and rear parking sensors, Bluetooth for the audio. The audio is a Mark Leveson premium sound system, which it sounds great. It's got a sat nav, which is not great. You probably just use Waze or Google Maps, but it's still there. Dual zone climate control, leather steering wheel. You get heated power adjustable front seats with lumbar support, aluminium pedals. You get your power tilt and telescopic steering wheel with memory settings, both front seats and memory. And as you can see, has a decent sized glove box, has 2 cup holders in the front and 2 in the rear, and some decent sized door bins so you can put bottles and things in. So storage is pretty good.
This is a 2011 registered but a 2010 model year car, so there's slight differences on the interior and exterior. I'll go through them now. So on the interior you have this blue part at the bottom of the steering wheel. That signifies the facelift, which also signifies the mechanical LSD in the rear, which is pretty crucial. The other slight differences are from 2010 onwards, this center console screen, if you like, is black on the outside, and on the earlier ones it is grey with sort of raised buttons. I much prefer this black one. I think it suits the interior nicer, looks a bit more modern, just much bigger fan. As mine is 2010, it has the pre-facelift dials, so the 2 separate dials for the speedo, 1 for the revs, 1 for the speed, 1 for the revs. The 2011 onwards has 1 big center tacho, I'm so American, 1 big center rev meter with rev lights and a little digital speedo. Controversially, I prefer this over the other one. I prefer the 2 separate dials, bit more timeless in my opinion. I think the other one already looks a bit dated. But what does annoy me about Lexus doing this is I know they can do a really nice dash. I do like this, it's simple, it does the job, but if you look at the old IS200, they have that sort of watch vibe dash. I really like though. That speedometer, with it looks like a watch face, is really nice. And then this was their flagship, and they did a very simple design. Simple is good. I do like the blue needles, the way they sweep when you turn it on. I think it looks good, but they could have done a little bit better. So that's me nitpicking there. Another telltale sign of the facelift and pre-facelift is the headlights. Don't worry, I know these look bad. I will be reconditioning them, polishing them out, etc. They look terrible, but that's a spring job. The headlights on the facelift had an LED strip here. I'll put a picture up so you can see what I mean, but they have an LED strip along the bottom to sort of modernize the front end a little bit. Again, controversially, I prefer these. When they're cleaned up, they're pretty timeless to me. They're just, I mean, this car sort of sits in this weird middle ground between modern and classic. Some would say modern classic. But for me, I think these suit the car a little bit better. The modern ones are nice, but I do prefer these. Another change made throughout the years of the ISF were the wheels. These were the 2008 to 2010 wheels, the forged BBS 19-inch faces based off of a Katana. So that's quite interesting, and they provide some air cooling to the brakes. There are some other ones, one called the Snowflakes, which came from 2010. Not a big fan of them, and then some BBSs from 2012 onwards, which are absolutely sensational, and I would love a set, but they're ridiculously expensive. They all come standard with a staggered setup. There are some suspension changes throughout the years to make it more comfortable. I will go on about the ride when I'm driving. I always find myself squatting down for some reason. All right, let's go for a drive, but before I go for a drive, let me give you, I mean, it is relatively cold and I just moved the car, so it should still be a cold start up. So I'm gonna put the mic down, let you listen to it. So now we're driving, we're out on the main road, far away from my house, so I don't dox myself. Let's talk about the suspension. This is a big thing you'll see. If you're reading up about these cars, you'll know everyone talks about the suspension. The ride's terrible. This is completely standard suspension. And I'll be honest, yes, I'm 26 years old. So, you know, maybe someone older might moan about the suspension. I apologise if you are older, but that is a bit of a cliche. But to me, the suspension is not bad at all. If I hopped in a performance car and it was wallowy and soft, it's not what I want out of a performance car. You do not buy a high-powered V8 performance car to be soft. So for me, it's fine. It is a little bit crashy over big bumps, but it's not something that's going to concern me. It's not something I've immediately thought I must change that, because I want a bit of firm. I want to feel like I'm in a sports car. I don't want to feel like I'm in a wallowy Lexus like a LS430. V8. Oh. Traction control kicking in there. I just have to say V8 every time I put my foot down, just otherwise, you know, how would you know? Anyway, that sort of segues on quite nicely to the engine. So, as I said before, this engine produces 416 brake horsepower, 500 newton meters of torque. It is high up the rev range. It produces it at this number. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll put it on the screen. So it is higher up than some other cars, but it does have torque through the whole rev range, but it does like to be revved out to experience that full power, which I think is a good thing. Let's just talk about the gearbox. Let's keep it all gearbox. This is an 8-speed torque converter gearbox. At low speeds, like I am right now in traffic, it is perfect. It goes up and down through gears. You wouldn't even know it's changing gear. It's just smooth and compliant, exactly what you want. Shift the column over, put it into manual, put it in sport. Oh, that's another thing I don't like. The sport button on the pre-facelifts is down here by the start button, and they moved it to the steering wheel on the later ones, which is so much better, because anytime I want to go to sport, I nearly hit, I don't know, some other buttons down there. So it's definitely a lot better to move it up on the steering wheel. It has lovely blips on downshifts. It has 0.1 second upshifts. It feels amazing. It is a torque converter, which is pretty controversial. People think it should be dual clutch, or if a gearbox isn't dual clutch, it isn't any good. Let me tell you, that is not true. What Lexus did here is brilliant. I absolutely love this gearbox. It was a fear of mine, which is why I went to test drive one, because I didn't know if I'd like the gearbox or not, because I came from an S2000. I love manuals, and that gearbox in the S2000 is something special. I apologise, I don't have any external mics or anything special, but okay, we're in second now, about 3,000 RPM. I probably will spin the wheels up here, but let's go. Quick. So yeah, the gearbox is pretty fucking good. It's very fast, very compliant, exactly what I'd want out of a gearbox. I absolutely love it. Now, speaking of things I absolutely love, the engine, you might be able to tell. As I mentioned before, it is definitely the party piece of this car. I also absolutely love the flappy paddles. The feel of them is so nice. It's a nice tactile little click you get. They just feel well made. So about 3,000 RPM in third gear. Let's put my foot down. Here's the secondary intake open up. Now. And slides. The traction control in sport mode is not that intrusive, which is perfect. It allows a little bit of slip, which is kind of what you want in sport mode. You don't want it to be too invasive and just cut power. Yeah, the traction control in sport mode is perfect. It literally gives you enough slip to have fun, wiggle about a little bit, you can feel it. And if you go too far and you're not counter steering it, it will chuck you back in, which is good. The amount of character this car has is unbelievable. It's just insane. I absolutely love it. There's not a single car that does everything as well as this does. You can go on track with it if you wanted to. You can do airport runs. It's got enough space to take, granted, only 4 people, not 5. It's got a special engine. It's got a special gearbox. It's a sleeper. It's relatively affordable. It's super reliable. I do not know any car that I can think of that does all the things well. It might not do them all the best, but it does everything well. And that's exactly what I want out of a car. And that is the sort of car that you can really build some trust in. You can hoon about, bang off the rev limiter, which I might mention sounds absolutely unbelievable. So let me give you a demonstration. Let me do it here. I've had 2-seater convertibles, and they are some of the best cars you can have and drive for about a month of the year, maybe July. And even in July, probably 2 weeks of it. But the other time when you're going 30 miles an hour and you're sat behind a car in the rain, or you're getting into your car in January and it's freezing, you hate it. And this car, every single time you drive it, is an absolute pleasure. The gearbox, the engine, it's got 2 characters. It's got this placid, comfortable, nice place to be, and then it's got this absolute animal which opens up when you plant your right foot. I cannot sing its praises enough. I cannot believe how underrated this car is, especially for the value. Especially for the value. Let's talk about how much things cost, what it costs to run. MPGs, I can tell you right now, if I look through my display, which flicks through, I can tell you my average MPG is 18 miles per gallon. Similar to what I said earlier, 18 miles per gallon is what you get. My tank average is 10.8, but that's because I've been hooning it on this drive. Now for insurance, I'm 26 years old. It cost me £880 for the year. absolutely love it. It cost me £880 for the year. I've got about 6 or 7 years of no claims, I can't remember exactly, and that is declared with the exhaust, because you've got to declare your mods, obviously. Let's talk about tax, the big elephant in the room. What's it like to own a 5-litre V8 in the UK when they want everyone to drive hybrids or electric cars? It's not great. I do it monthly, it costs me £65 a month on tax. Yes, let that sink in. As all the servicing has been done at the main dealer, I won't go through every single one. I'll just go through the most recent, which is coincidentally the most expensive. It was done at 53,000 miles. I've just hit the mic, ignore that. It was done at 53,000 miles in March last year, so mine is due in March this year, so I will be getting it done. But this was 120,000 miles. It was done on 53,000 miles. It was done based on time, not mileage. And what it includes is, well, the expensive bit was the spark plugs. Obviously, you need 8 of them, £20 each. £112. Basically, the grand total was £850, basically, including VAT, at a main dealer for 120,000 mile service, which is pretty fucking good. Just docks that guy's address, I'll be covering that up. If you're a petrol head like me, you know that these cars are never coming round again. There's never going to be a 5-litre V8 stuck into a saloon car. It just isn't going to happen. So if you're like me and you like cars, you like performance cars, and you want to experience different things, buy a V8 now. Buy one. Buy a V8 before you can't, before the tax is like Ireland, where it's £3,000 a year to have a car. Buy one. I cannot stress this enough. I'm 26. I know that by the time I'm 30, 35, having a V8 is going to be so costly, not only the fuel, but the tax as well. So if you're debating a V8 or some sort of V10 or some sort of crazy engine in one of these cars from the 2000s, 2010s, just do it. Just absolutely do it. You think about the car you're getting for the value, around £20,000, you're getting all these creature comforts, you're getting a nice reliable car, you know it's going to work, cheap to maintain, cheap to insure. Yes, I say cheap, it's not a cheap car, do not get me wrong, but it is cheap in the scheme of V8 performance cars or performance saloons in general. If you go down the route of the M3 or the C63, servicing costs are more expensive, the parts costs are more expensive, the insurance costs are more expensive, they're less reliable, there's a lot of negatives to going in that route. And I mean, listen to that, how could you not love it? Fuck me. Buy one, that's the end, buy one, absolutely buy one. If you're thinking about buying an ISF and you're watching this video, I cannot say buy one enough times. Just buy one. Or if you don't want an ISF and you want an M3, buy one. Just get a V8 before you can't. And I'll leave you with that. Again, I've apologised already 3 times, but I will apologise for the lack of structure. My videos will get better, I promise you. This is my second YouTube video I've ever done, so I'm very new to it. I'm not happy with how they look, but what can I do? Other than make them and learn, so that's what I'm doing. With that being said, if you could drop me a subscribe and a like, I would appreciate that a lot. Oh my God, a Reliant Robin. Class. I would appreciate that a lot. I will be looking to do some reviews on some of my friends' cars, maybe a few comparison videos in the future. So yeah, if my mates are watching this, I'll be asking you soon. But yeah, thanks. Drop me a subscribe. Cheers. I hope this video isn't as shit as I think it's going to be. Just record this whole fucking thing and my head was chopped off like this, like a fucking moron. So dimming rear... Fuck me. This is shit. This is a shit review. It's not very structured. I apologise. I'll put this bit in the end so I can rant and apologise for how unstructured this video is. I have in my head a very structured video. I start filming, I forget what I've said, what I haven't said. So apologies for the lack of structure, but you get my gist. My first review, please cut me some slack and subscribe. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching.